And I had no idea about tanks. I've never been to a tank museum, nothing. Maybe we should go. Hello and welcome to the Popcorn Club. This week we went to go and see Fury, Brad Pitt and Shia LaBeouf and Brad Pitt's abs. That's all I remember. It was excellent. Oscars all round, yeah. I mean, it's a film about some tanks and stuff. No, come on, tell us what the real film is all about.
A day in the life of an American tank battalion and unit towards the end of World War II, as they're making their way sort of through Germany, the very final few months before the war's over.
I think your view on whether this is a good film, anyone's view, one's view on whether it's a good film or not, probably depends on the message that you take as being the key message of the film.
What do you think the key message the film's trying to push or trying to make is?
Yeah, and I think...
No, that's the question.
Oh.
Before we got started.
I was like, yes, you're correct. Okay, fine. Its main message and the thing that it keeps hammering home more than anything is just how horrific, grim, brutal, just nightmarish and pointless war can be for the guys that are just on the front line.
Boots on the ground, as it were.
Yeah, the inhumanity of it and the fact that you almost have to separate your normal personality from your war personality, your tank personality.
It's kind of focusing more on mood and a certain frame of mind and a certain attitude that it's trying to portray rather than any sort of particular plot. Yeah,
I would say there is some plot there and there's an attempt at kind of individual characters, but for me, if I go too deep into those things, they're not that good. Like, they're quite cartoon-like and things.
Aside from Logan Lerman's character, who is our sort of way in to this group, they've all been together for the last 3 or 4 years. Yeah. They've all very much battle-hardened, and they all, in their own ways, do a good job of portraying the horror of war and the ravages that it takes its toll on both physical and mental scars. They're very hard to empathise with in certain ways, especially when the majority of the time that we see them, they're essentially trying to baptise Logan Lerman's character in the fires of war, being just various shades of bastards towards him, or kind of slightly shell-shocked by their own experiences. The sort of horrors of war have been portrayed better in other pictures. It being a film about 4 guys in a tank, I was kind of slightly maybe hoping for a bit more character work between them.
And I think that's a fair comment. They could have taken that and actually used that as an opportunity to have this really claustrophobic, character-driven piece, which could have been much better.
And I think they come close to doing that, and it's not to say that what they do end up with isn't at times shocking, horrifying and compelling. It's just it's quite surface level, I think, the stuff they try and do with the characters. I feel that overall war is just fucking shit message. That and the context that plays out in, and at a macro level for this film is good enough that I didn't worry too much about the characters not being as good as they could have been. Brad Pitt's essentially kind of playing the same part from Inglourious Bastards again, which is fine, which he does quite well. Shia LaBeouf, I think, surprised everyone.
By being nuts.
No, but by being nuts, but also channeling his inner madness into a really quite haunting performance. Be it slightly more one note than I would have liked, but the note he does hit, he hits well and consistently, more so than I think anyone else in the film.
Some of those battle scenes were really well staged and constructed, such that the tension was really high.
Particularly the one between the American battalion of tanks and the German tank.
The reason why that tension is so well drawn is due to the nature of the warfare we're watching, tank warfare, because tanks don't move quickly. They're very slow.
They've got a very, very set, structured way.
And you can't just
around.
be like, you know, so much teamwork goes into successful tank warfare. And I thought they did a really good job of portraying that.
So the way they shot, not in that scene, but kind of the whole film and mirroring the very strict way that a tank moves. The camera was kind of locked down most of the time, and the way it was tracking the movement was very traditional, kind of maybe mirroring that of a tank, and also the close-ups were always locked off, and it was kind of just in your faces with the characters. A very different way of shooting.
Yeah, more frenetic kind of handheld stuff. Yeah,
none of that, and especially for David Ayer, seeing as his last few films have been digital and very handheld. I think he did End of Watch a couple of years ago, so this was a really interesting and I think successful change in tack.
The main thing that really let it down for me was the end climax and the decision that was made to create that circumstance. Their tank had broken down and there was some German troops marching that had been spotted by Logan Lerman's character coming. And Shia LaBeouf's character immediately does what any good soldier would do and say, right, well, we can't move this tank. Let's all go to the woods and hide so that they don't see us. And you think, yeah, that's the right decision to make. And Brad Pitt decides, actually, no, they're going to stay and defend their useless broken down tank.
They're all going to go and leave him.
Yeah.
And it's Logan Lerman.
And he's going,
like,
it's okay. Like,
yeah, he's like, no, you guys leave, but I'm staying. You do what you need to do. He's not even pressuring them. And Logan Lerman's character is like, no, I shall stay.
I just didn't buy it.
Yeah. And as well done and as brutal and as entertaining as the last half hour is, still in the back of your mind, it's like,
why are they doing this?
Yeah, the only other issue I kind of had with the film was the one scene when they were in the German town and they go to visit the German ladies in their house. It's just a very long scene. It slows down the pace of the whole film. It's picking up on themes that I think have already been kind of established.
Some of the stuff the characters were doing, I don't think they'd justified those actions earlier in the film. I just didn't buy that they would have disrespected Brad Pitt. As soon as Brad Pitt was like, okay, lay it off, guys, knock it off, they all listened. I just didn't get why that would be the case in the tank, but outside the tank they thought it was okay to just push him on after he said, okay, enough.
I don't think that was necessarily my issue with that scene. I mean, it was maybe that they were trying to show that they were starting to push more boundaries all of a sudden. I just think it was slightly awkwardly staged and it kind of slowed everything down.
So popcorns then?
There are definitely some really good things. I think it's shot excellently well. The performances for the most part are good to very good.
There's not enough
to the
depth
plot.
of characters there.
There wasn't enough meat there to say there was that awkward scene in the middle and just not buying the motivation for the climax, despite how much fun it was or how well done it was. So it's kind of a mixed bag, but I think it's I'd give it a 7.
I was going to give it an 8 actually.
Okay.
Because I did enjoy it a lot. Not necessarily, high 8s. I've scored quite a few films 8 this year. I'm sure it'll be at the lower end. But I enjoyed it. I mean, I despite it's definitely got flaws, as we've said, but I came out of it thinking, actually, I really enjoyed that. I was caught up in the action, was excited to know what was going to happen next. I thought it was well done, as you say. Not amazing, but not bad either. Have you seen Fury? Do you like tanks? Do you like Brad Pitt and his abs? If yes to any of those things, give us a thumbs up, why don't you? Brad Pitt would want you to, I'm sure he would. If you want to see more videos by us and not to miss when we have a new release video out, subscribe. Next week, we are off to see someone do something with some paintbrushes. I don't know.
Sounds exciting.
Who is it?
As if tanks and warfare wasn't enough excitement, we're going to go with painting.
We're literally going to go and watch paint dry. No, it's Mr. Turner, which is Mike Leigh's film.
It is.
New film. Which apparently is good. Although it's 2.5 hours long, so I'm a bit worried about that.
Paint does take a while to dry.
It really does. So wish us luck with that. Let's hope it's a nice colour. Magnolia. Something interesting. Good. So yeah, see you next time. Bye. They could have been in the trees. Yeah. It would have been fine.
It wouldn't have been as exciting climax to the film, but it would, yeah.
But everyone would have lived happily ever after.
Yeah.
But no,
that's how these things work in war.